Hi everyone, today's video is going to focus on how to answer Paper 1, Question 1. We usually call this one the List 5 question. Today we will look at AO1 in more detail, look at what a List 5 question is, and discuss a method for answering this question. Let's dig deeper into Assessment Objective 1. You're being asked to identify and interpret explicit and implicit information and ideas. But what does this actually mean? Firstly, explicit information is information that is clear, obvious, and usually easy to find. You'll be looking for a direct quote from the text. Now, implicit information is a little bit harder. It will be hidden away in the text, and you have to figure out what is being implied. What can you infer from the quotes? It sounds complicated, but Assessment Objective 1 is actually really simple. Read the text, find information, write it down. No analysis needed. So how does it look on the exam? Well, Paper 1, Question 1 will always look something like this. Read lines 1 to 8, list 5 things you learn about the weather, 5 marks. First, you will be given the line numbers and will only be awarded marks for information between these lines. Make sure you pay attention to this in the exam. Next, it says list 5 things. If you're asked to list, you should use bullet points and do not need full sentences. It also states 5 things, so write 5 even if you're guessing. Then you will be asked to focus on a specific thing. It could be something about the weather, a person, or a setting. Make sure you're only giving answers that are about the question focus. Anything else is a waste of your time. Finally, this question is worth 5 marks. It's a nice and easy way to start the exam. It's a really good way to get some marks under your belt. Do your best here, but do not spend forever on this question. We usually suggest you only spend 5 minutes on question 1. So this is how you answer the question. Step 1. Section the text by drawing a box or line around the line numbers you need to read. Step 2. Always highlight the question focus. Make sure you know what information you need to find. Step 3. Read through the section of the text, highlight the explicit information, and annotate the implicit information. Step 4. Write your answers in your booklet. Remember, you will not get the marks unless it is written down. This is a question from a sample paper. Why don't we do this one together? The question says, read lines 1 to 13, list 5 reasons why Pat feels nervous in these lines. 5 marks. Using our 4 steps, the first thing we need to do is to draw a box around lines 1 to 13. Then we should go back to the question and make sure we know what we're looking for. This question asks us why Pat feels nervous. So we don't need to show that she does feel nervous, we just need to look for the reasons why, and we do not have to pay attention to any other character. Now we're going to read the section and highlight what we find as we go. Pat stood nervously at the door, reading the names underneath the buttons until she saw the name she was looking for, Anderson. That would be Bruce Anderson, the property surveyor, the person to whom she had spoken on the telephone. He was the one who collected the rent on the flat and paid the bills. He was the one who said that she could come and take a look at the place and see whether she wanted to live there. She wasn't really sure. So that's our first reason that we get. She wasn't sure she wanted to live there. And we'll take a look at you now, he added, if you don't mind. So now she thought she would be under inspection. So Pat's also nervous because she might be under inspection. Assessed for suitability of the flat, weighed up to see whether she was likely to play music too loud or have friends who would damage the furniture. So Pat's worried that she might be judged. Or, she supposed, whether she would get on anyone's nerves. So we could say she's also worried because she might get on people's nerves. She pressed the bell and waited. The door was rather shabby, needing a coat of paint to cover the scratches. So she's worried because the door looks like it's dirty, it's shabby. Well, this street was on the edge of a fashionable part of Edinburgh. With a sense of anxiety of having to do this every day, she climbed up 4 flights of stairs to reach the top landing where there were 2 flats, one with a dark green door and another painted blue. So we're also told that Pat feels anxiety because she might have to climb the stairs every day. So now we've highlighted at least 5 answers. The final step is that we need to write our answers down before we move on. So question 1. She isn't sure she wanted to live there. She thought she would be under inspection. She thought she would be judged. The door was shabby. And she worried about climbing the stairs every day. Now it's your turn. Here is a list 5 question. Have a go. If you feel confident, you could set yourself a 5-minute timer and see how you do. Pause the video now to complete this question. And here's a second question for you to try. It's exactly the same thing, so have another go. You've got this. Pause the video and try it now. When we mark paper 1, question 1, the exam boards give teachers a set of answers that look like this. We use these to make sure your exams are marked fairly around the country. We get 1 mark for each piece of information you have given, but it should be in separate bullet points. So how did you do? Pause and mark your answers now. Before we go, here are some final quick tips for when you answer this question in the future. Don't use full sentences. It asks you to list, so you do not need to use a full sentence for this. If you use a quote, make it short. The exam board will not give you marks for a long quotation, so be selective. Separate the information to give 2 separate bullet points. For example, give the person's first name in 1 bullet point and their surname in another. If it's taking too long, put your bullet points there and come back later. You can put 1 extra bullet point, but never any more. You'll be wasting your time. Finally, don't sweat the small stuff. If you're having an issue with this question, just move on. So that's it for today's video. Today I explained AO1 in more detail. We discussed list 5 questions and looked at how you can answer those using a 4-step method. List 5 questions are a really great way to start the paper, and you will definitely get the hang of them, so they should be no worries at all. That's everything for this video, but there will be more talking about the other questions in future. Happy studying!